Hi, welcome to my video on defining an angle bisector, segment bisector, and the midpoint of a segment. Angle bisector. An angle bisector divides an angle into two equal parts. An example, if you take the angle ABC and you draw that ray up through there, then if you say that ABX is the bisector of angle ABC, that means that the angle ABX is equal to the angle CBX. An angle bisector bisects. Bisects means to cut in half. And if you bisect this angle HTV, a bisector moves up through the middle like that. Now this is not exactly in the middle, but you get the idea. So if TF is a bisector, then that means that angle HTF equals VTF. So these two angles are equal. So notice I got two strokes and two strokes indicating the angles are equal. Over here I had one stroke each indicating the angles are equal. C, we have an angle BQR. We have a ray coming out through here, and it says PQR is 60. So this big angle here is 60 degrees. It says that QX bisects the angle PQR. So QX bisects PQR. So that means that this angle and this angle are equal because of the bisector. And in that case, if the big angle is 60, that means that PQX is 30 degrees and XQR is 30 degrees. It's 30 degrees each because a bisector bisects the angle into two equal parts. D, here's EFG, FN is going out through. It says that FN, or AFM, bisects angle EFG. EFG is this angle, so if bisects, that means that that angle equals that one, and so that means that EFN is equal to, you can go GFN or NFG. It's your choice. I'll just go GFN. Practice. Practice means you pause your video, work all of these out to see if you're going to get them right, and then press play to see if you've got them right. Here we go. Practice. Draw the angle by, notice the symbol for angle. Draw the angle bisector of EAM. So the angle bisector is out through there. There it is. And if that's the angle bisector, then what I'll do is mark that angle equals that one. Because I marked those equal with those marks, that means that that's the angle bisector. Number 2, we have PYW and YA is a ray. If PYW is 74, so PYW, so this big angle is 74 degrees. If YA bisects PYW, YA, that means that PYA is equal to WYA. And if this angle is 74, that means that this angle right here is 36 degrees. Oops, 37, and 37. That's 37 there. So they're 37 degrees each, because a half of 74 is 37. Number 3, OT bisects angle MOF. If MOT is 25, MOT, so if that's 25, and that's a bisector, that means that this angle is 25, because that angle is equal to that one. So TOF is 25, and if that's 25 and 25, that means MOF is 50. MOF is the two of these add together, or because as a bisector, then MOF is twice MOT. So twice 25 is 50. Number 4, we have a triangle and we have another triangle inside. So B, notice that these two sides are marked equal. Those are the two strokes. If angle BOC is 140, so that's 140 degrees right there. From there to there, 140. So that's 140. Then we have 180 for the triangle. Subtract 140 gives us 40 left. So these two angles are both add up to 40. But we know, because of the isosceles triangle, if two sides are equal, the angles opposite those sides are equal. That's the vertex angle right there. So these are the base angles. So 40 divided by 2 gives me 20. So that angle is 20, and that angle is 20. Now, I'm not putting degrees in. Just, you know, that's 20 degrees. That's what I'm talking about. And if BO or OB bisects angle ABC, that means if that segment bisects this big angle, that means that's 20. And if it says that OC bisects angle ACB, so if this segment bisects ACB, so that's 20, that's a 20. And find the measure of A or BAC. So what we have is a 40 here and a 40. So we got, if you take the big triangle, you got 40 and 40. So there's a 40-degree angle. That's a 40-degree angle in the big triangle. So if I take that out separately, just to show you right here. So what we have is 40 and a 40. 40 and 40 is 80. So that means this angle up here is 100 degrees. The angle BAC is 100. When you're dealing with triangles, you got to look around, say, how am I going to get the angles? What are the measures? And you got to learn the ideas, like if two sides are equal, then two angles are equal. If you got a 90-degree angle, then the other two angles add up to 90. Angles of a triangle is 180. So you got to keep recalling this information. So this is why I have many diagrams, many ideas or concepts being used. The more that I can use, the more that I can think about, the better I'll be. Here we go. Number 5. It says that YT bisects XYW. So YT bisects XYW. So that means that this angle right here, A, is equal to B. So we have 60, A and C, with 70, E and B, but I don't have any more information in here. And no more information. I got a 60 and a 70. So that means if I look at the big triangle, which is this one, X, Y, W, what'll happen is I got a 60 and a 70. So what's interfering with this is I got this triangle split into two triangles. So if I got a 60 and a 70 here, that means that this angle Y is, that's 130. So that angle Y is a 50. Because these two angles are 130 plus 50 makes 180. So these A and B add up to 50. But they're equal. So that means A and B are both 25 degrees each. You got to split it, cut it in half, divide by 2. So if that's a 25, and that's a 25, so in this triangle, right here, I got a 25 and a 70. That makes it 95. So E is 180 minus the 95. So that gives me an 85. So E is 85. And for the same reasoning, what we have here is that I have a 60 and a 25. So 60 and a 25 gives me 85. So C is 180 minus the 85. So that gives me 95. So angle C is 95. So notice you work your way around. Look, if you observe triangles 180, how are the angles equal? And notice that these two angles, if you think about it, C and E, so if that's 85 and that's 95, that's a straight angle. So these two angles, C and E added together, 85, 95 and 85 adds up to 180. So everything makes sense. Number 6, we have angle A is 70. Write that in. Angle AFT. AFT. AFT is 130. Write that in. Now, I have WN parallel to MF. So WN, so that's parallel to that. Now we know what happens with parallel lines. Every time somebody says parallel lines, I say, oh, I got angles equal. I got corresponding angles equal. I got alternate interior angles equal. I have alternate exterior angles equal. I got same side interior angles adding up to 180, etc., etc. And okay. Now I got MN bisects angle AMT. AMT. So if AMT is bisected by MN, so that means F is equal to H. So here we go. I got a 70 here. I got 130 here. 130, oh, X is 50 because it makes 180. So what is M? So notice I have it organized to help you through, because you do one thing, it leads to another. So we have a big triangle. I want this angle AMF. 70 and 50 adds up to 120. So that means AMF is 60. So if this angle is 60 and it's bisected, that means F is 30 and H is 30 because they're cut in half. Let's continue. That's 30 and that's 30. Put that in there. Now I can look at this triangle right here and I can see I got 80. So that means B must be 100 degrees. 180 in the triangle. Now, the triangles are not drawn to specs. Nope, the triangles are not drawn to specs. So that's 100 degrees. Now, we know, what about the parallel line? What was that given for? Well, with parallel lines, I have what? These are corresponding angles on the same side of the transversal. So that means Y and X are equal. So that means Y is equal to 50. Now, because of the parallel lines, the alternate interior angles form a Z. So if I could form a Z like that, that means H equals C. So that means C is 30. That's 50. That's 30. So C is 30 because they're alternate interior. There's a transversal cutting through the two parallel lines. Alternate interior angles are equal. Now I have these two angles are 60. So T is 120 because they add up to 180 in the triangle. And if that's 120, then P is 60 because it's 180. So that's 60 and T is 120. And 70, 60, and 50, 180. 120, 30, and 30, 180. B is, what did I say B was? 100. So we put 100 there. 100 plus 50 plus 30 is 180. So everything gels. Okay, angle bisector. Now we have a segment bisector. A segment bisector divides a segment into two equal parts. So a segment bisector can be a line, can be a ray. A segment bisector, if this line or segment bisects, if I want to make it a line, I can put arrows on the end if I want. So since I call it L as a line, let's put arrows on the end. So this line bisects this segment. Hence, that means that MA, this part, equals this part. Bisect means cut in half, so you're bisecting a segment. So if TF bisects XY, so XY is cut in half. So that means that that part equals that part. So OX equals OY. Now I have that OX OY, this segment, bisects this one. So that means that TO equals OF. So note they bisect each other. Again, you notice that when you bisect, it's cut in half. That means that O, let's go back to here, M, if this is a bisector, that means M is a midpoint. If they bisect each other, O is a midpoint on both of these. So if that equals that, if these two segments here are equal, that means that's in the middle. If these two segments are equal, that means O is in the middle, midpoint. Here we go. It says that MN is 10. MN is 10. And BC bisects MN. So BC cuts MN in half. So that's 10. So that means that's 5. And that's 5. So it's 5 centimeters, 5 centimeters. I just use centimeters. Put a ruler down and measure it. But when you do lengths, you got 10 centimeters. So it has to be 5 centimeters, 5 centimeters when you cut it. Practice. Work these out. Pause the video, work these out, and press play when you're finished. If AC bisects TW, so TW is cut in half, so that means that piece is equal to that piece. That means that BT equals BW. It says here, number 2, that PH and YX bisect each other. So YX cuts PH in half, and PH cuts YX in half. So if they cut each other, that means that OP or PO equals HO. Now you can say HO or OH, it makes no difference. So if if PH bisects YX, that means that I'm going to use 3 strokes this time. Don't make any difference. You use 1 stroke, 2 strokes, 4 strokes. So YO equals XO because they bisect each other. They cut each other in half. Number 3 is AF bisects OP. So AF bisects OP. That means OP is cut in half. So that means that these two segments are equal. So if OT is 8 and they are equal, that means that TP is 8. So TP is 8 centimeters or 8 meters. Got meters here. So that means that OP is 8 and 8 makes 16. Again, notice that AF bisects OP. OP is the one that's cut in half. Okay, that's segment bisector. Okay, let's go on to another concept used in geometry called midpoint of a segment. A midpoint of a segment forms 2 equal parts of the segment. Midpoint is in the middle. So if M is the midpoint of this segment, then that means that MA equals MP. So if that's a midpoint, that's in the middle, then these two segments, that segment equals that segment. So MA equals MB. A midpoint is in the middle. Note, if L bisects AB, so if I took the same segment up here, pretend it's the same segment, I could have a line going down through here. If I want to make it a line, then I can put arrowheads on it, or I can leave it as a segment. If L bisects AB, L passes through the midpoint. So because that's a bisector, then we treat that as a midpoint. So they're equal. So if you have a bisector goes through the midpoint. If you have a midpoint and you draw a line through that midpoint, then that line or segment bisects it. And if O is the midpoint of XR, if O is the midpoint of XR, then OX equals OR because of the midpoint. Notice I don't have a line going through or a segment, so I can't say that bisects it. But that's a midpoint, we're told, so the segments are equal. Practice, pause your video, and work these out and press play when you're finished. Here we go. If A is the midpoint of TV, A is the midpoint of this segment. Then AV is equal to AT. Number 2, if B is the midpoint of AC, B is the midpoint of AC, B is the midpoint of this segment. So that means that AB equals CB. So if that's the midpoint of this segment, that's in the middle, these two segments are equal. If C is the midpoint of BD, so C is the midpoint of this one, so that means that CB equals CD. That's the midpoint of this segment, so these two are equal. C is the midpoint of AE, so C is in the middle of this long one. So if that be the case, CA equals CE. Notice when I do midpoint or bisector, I start from the middle and work out. I work each side of that midpoint, or work each side of the bisector. D is the midpoint of CE. So if D is the midpoint of CE, that means DC equals DE. D is the midpoint of CE, so DC equals DE. Number 3, if O is the midpoint of AH, so let's draw that diagram. Sorry, O is the midpoint of EH. Here we go. So let's pretend that's EH. Let's draw a little diagram. O is the midpoint of that segment. There's O right there. So if you draw a diagram, you get a better picture. If EH is 14.8 centimeters. So notice drawing the diagram, putting the midpoint in, helps you put the information together better. So if that's 14.8 and that's the midpoint, that means half of that is 7.4 and the other half is 7.4, because 14.8 divided by 2 gives you 7.4. So OE is 7.4 centimeters and OH is 7.4 centimeters. Anyway, that brings us to the end of the idea of an angle bisector cut in half, segment bisector cut in half, and a midpoint forms two equal segments, cuts it in half. So all of them are in the middle of forming two equal segments. If you like my video, and if you already haven't done so, click on the like button, click on the subscribe button, and click on the notification bell, because there's more videos coming on my website. On my YouTube channel. I got a website too. And you can write a comment on my videos if you wish. And you can visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com. You get information about these 3 sections have information on me, my degrees and teaching experience. This section on video tells about the teaching strategies that I'm going to use to help you learn your math. Because I always got some tricks up my sleeve. I've got ways to what you learn in the earlier years, you also use in the late years. But if you know what's going on and understand, it makes it easier to keep it in your head. And the content that I have on my YouTube channels, the content section has the topics and the number of videos on each of the topics. And the font that's in black is what's already online, and the font that's in red will be developed in the near future. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.